Well, DECA brought school back into their events, so unless you're enthused by the prospect of doing multiple choice exams, this may induce dread. But dread no longer, dear DECA friends. Sharpen your pencils, or your computer, ready your process of elimination skills, and let's discuss how to maximize your score on the exam. Exams are generally associated with roleplay events, with some exceptions. These bad boys consist of 100 multiple choice questions on various business topics, the flavor of which depends on your career cluster. Of course, it always does. You'll have 90 minutes to take this event, which in my opinion is pretty generous. Exams for roleplays are about a third of your final score, so theoretically you could fumble your exam but manage to execute the most flawless roleplay and still win. However, in my opinion, the best competitors all do extremely well in roleplays leading to razor thin margins between presentation scores. Thus, the podium comes down to exam scores. So, are exams important? Well, yesn't. Here are some examples of questions from DECA's own competition website and their corresponding answer keys. As you can see, exams are tailored to the same performance indicators as your roleplays because DECA loves its performance indicators. It is really beneficial to us though. Each question on a DECA exam has a corresponding PI that you can view in the answer key along with its instructional area. That is to say, your PI knowledge gained from roleplays will be potentially useful for your exam and vice versa. However, exams require greater scope of knowledge than roleplays, while roleplays require greater depth. Just study both, it'll be fine. Principals events are in the Business Administration core cluster. Weird aesthetic, but okay. Their exams are more general than the other events, and so, at ICDC and ICDC, so basically everything, all principals events will take the same Business Administration core exam regardless of which principal event they're taking. The main instructional areas that are represented in principal events are emotional intelligence, financial analysis, and communications. Again, pretty general stuff. As for literally every other career cluster, while individual series events and team decision-making events, wow, that really rolls off the tongue, while both of them have different specificity and their roleplay PIs, their exams are the same. A marketing individual series event will have the same exact exam as a marketing TDM. Same questions and everything. So shockingly enough, marketing exams are heavy on the marketing. Your instructional areas will cover a lot of marketing information management, product service management, and promotion. And this, by the way, includes integrated marketing campaign and professional selling, who are both exceptions to the written event rule of no exams. Finance consulting takes the finance exam, and hospitality and tourism professional selling, shockingly enough, takes the hospitality and tourism exam. So, let's start with exam blueprints. You may be asking, or you might not be, how does she know exactly what instructional areas are on each exam? I'm glad you asked, and if you didn't, sucks to be you. DECA posts exam blueprints for each year with exam breakdowns for each level of competition. And yes, exam composition does shift between levels of competition. So, district competitions tend to cover more instructional areas, but the higher up in competition you get, the more specialized exams become. For example, for marketing exams, marketing info management increases from 11 questions at the district level to 16 at ICDC. Meanwhile, the singular entrepreneurship question at districts disappears when you get to the state level and beyond. Quick aside on PIs and instructional areas. We'll talk more about conventional study habits, but if you're really dedicated to the exam grind, don't skip this. The more knowledge you have on various PIs, the more likely you'll be able to answer more questions. What a surprise. I would not recommend memorizing every single PI under the sun, but being vaguely familiar with all of them is useful for overall DECA competition. DECA publishes all of its PIs in a PI PDF. That sounds like a DECA event. Divided by instructional area. DECA categorizes each PI in 3 tiers, from least specialized to most specialized. We got Business Administration Core in Tier 1, Career Cluster Core in Tier 2, and Career Pathways As stated earlier, principal events only have PIs from the business admin tiers. These are the most general, focused on overall business. Team decision-making events, both roleplay and exam, have PIs from the business admin tier 1 and career cluster tier 2. Finally, individual events, exam-wise, they will cover business admin and career cluster, like team decision-making events, but their roleplays will cover all 3 categories. That's how they can get so specific with their PIs. And of course, I did not forget about PFL. PFL just has its own set of PIs. It's very strange. I talked about that earlier though in the last video. Too long didn't read, too long didn't listen? This PDF just lists what PI each event can theoretically have. You can use this PDF to study if you're super dedicated. Otherwise, I did 15 exams to study for ICDC my first year. Ignoring the act of actually doing 15, how do you find 15? First of all, don't buy DECA Plus. To put it in an economic sense, which DECA would approve of, your marginal benefit is not much higher than the marginal cost. While DECA Plus does provide relevant resources in an easy-to-use way, it's not generally the most wise investment for $295. Holy crap. If your chapter already has this, or is willing and able to foot the cost, go with it. Who am I to tell you not? But the majority of DECA Plus's resources are ones you can find if you hunt around long enough on the internet. Sure, its example videos are arguably some of the better offerings of DECA Plus. You can, you know what, you can just find them on the YouTube or for Ask Successful chapter members for stuff. So, really, it's better, but it's not worth it. You can find a lot of exams just by looking around on deca.org/compete. My old friend. This description of each event will have a sample exam attached to it. If you also look in the advisor resources section on the deca.org website, it will have a lot of other exams from different years. Certain state chapters or even school chapters will link their resources on their own websites, so you could also use those. Finally, if you start Googling finance exam or hospitality and tourism exam or marketing exam, you can and you will find them. Maybe on some shady looking websites. I have no clue how this would somehow become relevant, but please do not violate the law while you're trying to prep for your DECA event. But you know what? There's a trove of them so long as you look. Who knew PDFs were going to become so valuable? The best studying strategy is to do as many exams as possible. You didn't need to watch this video to realize that. But do a lot of them. Do so many of them. Do 15 of them to practice for ICDC like I did, and start seeing questions on new exams that you've already done before. Also, simulate the conditions that you are going to be, facing on the day of the exam, so give yourself 90 minutes. And if it's going to be a digital exam, do it digitally on Cami or something. And if it's going to be a print exam, kill some trees and do it on paper. Now, once you're done, go onto the answer keys and mark the questions that you got incorrect. You want to go beyond crying about your mistakes and note some specific details. Mark which instructional areas you got wrong and tally up which areas you're not doing so hot at. You should study the PIs under this area more. Now, Google them. Straight up Google them. You also want to reflect on your answers to ensure you don't make the same flavor of mistakes. Write an explanation as to why the correct answer is correct and why your choice just wasn't. Back in my exam heyday, I would also research all the other exam choices. What's this concept in question answer B? What's this thing in C or D or E? And I did this on a Google Doc that would grow increasingly longer the more exams I took. So that document was really helpful because it had a lot of concepts that were relevant to different marketing exams. So if you want to go above and beyond, mark down the definitions of answer choices you didn't know and the ones you did know, because a sizable part of DECA exam success is knowing the vocab and using it in its proper context. Anyways, beyond actual exam taking, there are some other options you could do. I don't think they're as useful, but you know what? I'm providing options. Quizlet with relevant vocabulary are quite easy to find, though the fact that Quizlet is paywalled still makes me deeply upset. Now, there are some free alternatives, but I still have problems with them too. You could also go completely bananas and write explanations and examples for every single marketing PI that you could possibly run into, like I did. You could also do that in addition to keeping up with incorrect answer choices. Don't freaking do it. I nearly lost my mind during ICDC. But you know what? At the end of the day, the golden medal of exam prep is doing exams. Which brings me to... actual exam strategies are pretty similar to most test-taking shenanigans. Be sure to practice using these in the throes of your examining. First, read questions slowly and fully, especially with some of the longer ones, and make sure you understand what the question is asking for. I find it useful to circle or underline relevant terminology, although this is really only possible if you're doing a pencil and paper one. That is why I hate digital exams. I do way worse on them. But also, don't spend too long on one question and check your answers. Save time for checking questions at the end. And I know some people will just turn in their exams and pray, so don't be like them. At the same time, trust your gut and do not change the answer to a question unless you are more than sure that your new answer is better and more correct. Because generally, your instincts are going to be correct, while your brain sometimes isn't. Now, for the golden jewel of examination. Process of elimination. Yay, POE. It will be your GOAT. Eliminate answers that you know are incorrect or don't quite sound right to the context of the question, and then guess with whatever options you have left if you still have, more than one question choice. You do not get penalized for incorrect answers, so guess away. But I would caution against choosing answer choices you don't know what they are. Like if you are unaware of what the concept is, don't choose it unless you are sure that none of the other answer choices are correct. At the same time, sometimes there won't be a distinctly correct answer. In that case, oh my goodness, go for the answer that's the best answer, not the perfect one. Does an answer choice make sense in the context of the question? That is something you want to ask when you're looking through what kind of options you have. You also want to look for opposites. DECA sometimes will put 3 answer choices as doing the opposite of what the question asks, while only one actually, does what the question is asking for. Now, always think, what would a bunch of DECA folks making these exams think is the right answer? Of course, just put yourself in their shoes and think about it from their perspective, but this also means that I have to acknowledge that DECA has its biases and is generally not critical toward consumerism and some of the flaws of capitalism. But why are you surprised? Shocker that the business club is pro-business. In conclusion, take as many exams as possible, keep your exam strategies in mind, and give yourself some grace if you mess up the same instructional areas over and over again. DECA is never that deep. So, take a deep breath and aim for your best out of 100. With RM DECA Corporate Baddie, this has been Gloria. The BTS is just gonna be spinning.
How many times does this been?